What's up? What you doing? It's that time. It's about 5 minutes before the half, and your man is in the house. I see some people already waiting on me. What you do? What you said? What you said? What you said? Hey, pretty girl, will you come my way? What you do? What you do? What you do? I must get you. Girl, roll up the way, show me that wine. Since I'm wearing my Trini red, I figured I'd do a little circle, give a little shout out to Kester Band. That's almost the most fun I had outside of the country. I went to Trinidad for Carnival uh, about 3, 4 years ago, before COVID, pre-COVID, a PC. So what's up? There you go. Come into the house. Give me some love. Give me some. Give me some. Give me some love. Don't call me no Bud. Bud's that little dude that played on the Cosby Show. You better show me some love, girl. Give me some hugs, some kisses. You're a grown woman. I'm a grown ass man. I pity the fool. I pity the fool who act like he don't know who I am. So what's up, people? How y'all doing? Hey, how you doing? How you doing? That's more like it. That's more like it. That's more like it. All right, show your mind some love. What's up, people? What's up? 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 Yeah, there you go. There you go. Come into the house. Come on in. Have a seat. Put on your seatbelt. Strap up. Enjoy the ride. Hey, YouTube in the house. Shut your mouth. I got 1,001 impersonations. I got in trouble in school because I impersonated people. Yeah. Why did I do that? Damn it, because I could. So anyway, you had all right? Of course I'm at it. Of course I'm at it. I hit the airs. I'm ready. Oh, you signed off? You better bring your behind back on in here. Play with me. Come on in. Get your mind. Get your mind. Get your mind. Let's get this. Let's get this popping. You two is all good. That's good. How y'all doing? How you 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 doing? Did you know they made root beer Kool-Aid? You believe that's what I'm drinking, right? Yeah. Hey, look at them. They saying hello to each other. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Y'all behind live right around the corner down the street from each other. See, y'all should be having a watch party for you, man. That's all I gotta say about that. Wait till I come back to DC. I'm gonna shake some things up. I'm gonna do one or two things. I'm gonna make a difference. I'm gonna make a difference. But in the process, make sure y'all have some bail money for me, because I know some of them people gonna be looking for me, starting shit every weekend. Man, what you doing? What you doing? I'm like, look, if y'all don't do it, I'm gonna do it for you. I'm feisty every night. I'm feeling my How the old people say it? I'm smelling myself. I smell good too. Come for Easter. I could have said some stuff, but I'm gonna be, I'm gonna behave. I'm gonna behave. How y'all doing, people? Y'all got me acting up tonight. I'm glad everybody's in a good mood. Things seem to be turning the corner. But come on in here. Signing on, signing off, signing on, signing off. Y'all gotta sign on and be here. I got some things to say tonight. You know what it is? You know what it is. Last Sunday, things got so bad Saturday night, I had to do an impromptu show Sunday morning, and I spoke about some things that was happening in South Carolina, and I meant to touch back on it tonight, but there's some other things happening that I wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna kind of just put that off for a minute. I got some other things I want to include with that post discussion. So I'm gonna hold off on that for just a smidgen, just a heartbeat. So come on in, take your helmets off. Don't be putting no gum under the seat. And like Biggie said, if you got a gun up in the place, keep it in your waist. I see some ladies out there tonight. No, I ain't making no babies, so you know what I'm saying. Let's just have some fun, folks. We got a lot going on in this world. It's all critical, it's all crazy, but what we're going to do is we're going to try to make sense of the situation. I want to say good evening and welcome to the show. It's 1 minute past the half hour. So I'm going to stop procrastinating. I'm going to stop joking around and I'm going to get serious here. Um, Last week was Sunday was my first day back since my 39-day suspension from Facebook. And as I said before, we're going to stop. If y'all do anything for me, stop using the joke or the term being put in Facebook jail. There's nothing funny about being censored for having no opinion or being passionate about something. If that's the case, I would be like, I don't know, I would be locked up like Nelson Mandela because my opinion is so strong and I'm so passionate about the things that I believe in. So imagine if I couldn't speak my mind or if I was jailed every time I said something that somebody disagreed with. So, with that being said, 2 minutes past the half hour, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I was waiting for some other people over here. As you've noticed, I am broadcasting from both of my Facebook pages. So, if you're not on one page, hit me up on the other page. Or you could do like most people. Well, yeah, most of y'all got two phones. You got your phone, you got the Obama phone, you got the phone before that, the phone before that. So pull me up on your computer, pull me up on your telephone. To you old people that had that little thing that they advertise to see your grandkids, y'all can pull me up on that too. You know what I mean? I'm gonna start clowning. I want to say good evening, and welcome to the show. Yeah, it's been that kind of day, folks. It's been raining like crazy here. Before I go any further, I want to say to all my New Orleans people, I want to take a serious moment and say, growing up, we had hurricanes in New Orleans. We had torrential rains. We never had tornadoes before. Now, in the past, I want to say 8 years or so, New Orleans has been hit by two major tornadoes that have touched down and decimated, parts of the city. This time, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, my New Orleans people that's out there, this time there was one death that we know of, that I know of, let me say that. And to those who say, well, only one person died, no. One life lost to a disaster is one life too many, be it COVID or otherwise. So, um, shout out and prayers to my people in New Orleans. No matter where I travel, I'm always being New Orleanian at heart. You heard? So, with that, I want to say, let's pray for my city. Let's pray that we finally get something done for this global warming because it's wreaking havoc on our weather patterns and things that are um, happening now never happened before. And it's only going to get worse. Being here in central eastern Florida, I'm right off the Space Coast. I lived in the Space Coast for almost 3 years, and I got to watch all of these rocket launches, and it's amazing to watch. But being the science nerd that I am, the first law of physics says energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one form to the other, which basically means all that energy that's needed to propel a rocket or a spaceship into outside of our stratosphere into space has to be absorbed by the earth. And it does things like tips the earth off its axis, and it manifests itself in some of the crazy weather patterns that we're seeing. And ironically, when I first went in the Marine Corps, I was supposed to be a meteorological man. Can you believe that? So I could have been giving you guys the weather right now. Um, I try to make light of these situations because so much of it, folks, is out of our hands. So much of it we can't do anything about, but we have to be on top of it, for the things that we can do. So be diligent, be observant, be cognizant, um, and right. Participate in local elections, participate in state elections, because these are the people that go on and tend to represent us nationally on the federal level and make these kind of laws, whether or not we intervening in climate change or not. So again, for the third time, good evening and welcome to the show. I want to thank you for spending your Thursday nights with me. As always, I'm truly humbled. Other things you could be doing on a Thursday night, you choose to be here. And for that, I am appreciative and extremely humble. So hats off to you. My name is Hank Batiste. The name of my show is called Omit the Logic. This shit makes no sense. I'm your host tonight. The voices in my head are again pissed, trying to serve two humanitarian efforts. So I feel like there's a passage in the Bible that says that you can't serve two gods. My heart is divided. On one hand, I'm trying to show compassion to somebody that's struck with a war that they can't control. On the other hand, I want to focus on the things that are affecting us here domestically in the United States of America. Um, so honestly, I always wondered that no matter what's happening in the rest of the world, Israel tends to ignore it. And all of their focus seems to be on Israel. And to me, it always seems selfish. But given the events of the last 4 to 5 years, I've realized how vulnerable we are. So I care about what's happening there, but I care more about what's happening here. And I know that sounds bad, but it's the truth. I've got kids, I've got grandkids, I've got myself, I've got things that I care about that are going to be affected by, what Congress does, what the president does, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I understand the atrocities that's going on around the world, and it's not just Ukraine. So I want to say that to the media. Ukraine is not the only one that's being dealt all of these humanitarian atrocities. Um, there's the Putin, PU-TIN war on Ukraine, and we see NATO and specifically the United States of America's financial role expanding. Biden, and I said this last week, and I'm gonna keep saying it, Biden and Congress unanimously created a 13.6 $1 billion aid package for Ukraine. And then I saw today, I caught a piece of it, but I was getting ready for the show. So I'm going to have to go back and see. Biden is earmarking more money for the Ukraine as well. Meanwhile, our own infrastructure is crumbling. When things like tornadoes hit, when things like torrential rains hit, and people say it's just water, well, water created the Grand Canyon. Water is the most needed, but it's also the most destructive force in nature. Only water can put out fire. Think about that. So water can not only give life, it can definitely take it. It can erode the bridges that we drive on, the roads that we drive on, so forth and so on. So when I think of Biden and Congress creating a $13.6 billion aid package, and let me say this again, when I say unanimous, I mean bipartisan. That means this is the only thing in the past, I don't know how many years, that all the Republicans and all the Democrats agreed on. That's beyond miraculous. I don't know what to call it. So, um, the U.S. and one of the other reasons that I feel torn or as my spiritual beliefs are concerned, because the U.S. is headed into the 2022 midterm elections, yet we have no voting rights bill. So we have no idea how our vote is going to be counted, if our vote is going to be counted, or somehow if our vote is going to be nullified for some reason or another. Meanwhile, we see the Supreme Court of the United States turn a blind eye to these states that are erecting and implementing these biased voting right acts or lack thereof. Right to vote, one man, one vote is one of the primary tenets of the United States Constitution. And we see the Supreme Court turning a blind eye to it. And that takes me to my next thing. Meanwhile, speaking of the Supreme Court, Judge Ketanji Brown-Jackson is being treated worse than a pedophile that Matt Gatez himself. So here in the U.S., the Dems occupy the White House, and they hold a supposed majority in both chambers of Congress. And yet young Black men are still being slaughtered by the police. Why? Because we have no police reform bill. No matter we as Black men, no matter what, we as Black men are the most vulnerable group in America. And our elected officials sit idly by. I'm going to say this one more time. This is the other reason that I find it hard and I'm being torn spiritually. When I think of the Black people that are living in Ukraine, the ones that have been denied access on transportation, and here's what happens. You know, when I get excited and I get angry, my tongue starts to get tired. Those Black people that have been living in the Ukraine are being denied transportation out of the Ukraine. So when I look at the media coverage of all of these refugees, I keep looking for faces of color. And I see all of these snowy white people. Let me go on. So tonight I'm going to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to talk about that $13.6 billion aid package to Ukraine. And I'm going to keep on talking about it until I see some meaningful legislation that deals with things that are specific to us. Tonight I'm going to talk about Judge Brown-Jackson in the U.S. Supreme Court and why she is so needed. She's a qualified judge, but she's been shown no respect. And everybody's gonna say it. So yes, I saw Cory Booker in his appeal, and that was, but that's I need action. I don't need all of this crying for the camera and all of this showboating that draws more attention to you than it does the issues at hand. So tonight, the message is to Mr. Biden in Congress yet again. We need you to be able to walk and chew bubble gum, Tonight's show is called Biden and Congress, We Need You to Multitask. My name is Hank Batiste. This is Omit the Logic. This shit makes no sense. I'm going to try to make some sense of it. So let's do this. PU-TIN's USS small r aspirations and now desperation. As others start to openly discuss what I've been saying from Jump Street, and I'm going to remind you again, the USSR was formed in 1922. So this would have been the 100th anniversary. So it just makes sense in Putin's twisted mind that part of his legacy will be to restore the USSR to the grandeur of old. So as others start to talk about that, and the fact that he's beating up with all of his military might on this little country called the Ukraine, and his forces are stalling, as we see NATO starting to gather with all of these promises of what they're going to do, Putin, PU-TIN, is becoming desperate, folks. And I do this because I always put in a historical perspective. When Hitler got to a point where he could no longer wreak havoc and the Third Reich started to crumble, Hitler became desperate. Now, at the time, he took his, so they say. They found him in a bunker, so they say. He and Ava, what's her face? So they say. The problem is, Hitler did not have a nuclear arsenal. As Putin becomes more and more desperate, now we started to hear the media talk about the obvious. Putin is talking about if they don't do this, then he may employ chemical weapons. To that, NATO and Biden has a response. So as Putin becomes more and more desperate, the same question that I'm posed week in and week out, do you think that this is going to draw us into World War III? With Putin being as desperate as he is, all we can do is pray and hope for the best. Putin has nothing to lose. Putin has nothing to lose. So the questions that come to everybody's mind, in addition to the one I just asked, will China come to PU-TIN's aid or rescue? Will Putin use chemical or nuclear weapons? Well, China has been sitting on the sideline just watching what happens. Meanwhile, Biden, with his talk tough in Brussels for the NATO Summit, is talking about if China gets in, then we're going to impose sanctions on China. Well, let me just get back out of that, because that's something that sanctions are relative. Because the same countries that we put sanctions on, the US, and people that have an economic interest in some of these relationships, and as we've learned of late, some of those people wear congressional lapel pins. They put sanctions on them on one hand, but they're trading with them on the other hand, which means I'm taking money and I'm giving you money. So one negates the other. Is it balanced? I don't know. Because when people vote their pocket, they tend to, their pocket tends to outweigh their morality. That's all I got to say about that. Biden's in a NATO summit in Brussels. He's talking tough. He's talking about pulling Russia out of the G20. The problem with that is he doesn't have the power to do that. I keep saying this. Mr. President, stop broadcasting your hand. Just plan for the contingencies that you anticipate and be prepared. Because if I tell everybody that I have the big joker, then they can plan accordingly. And somebody can draw that joker out of my hand. Now it nullifies, it's just one book. So it has to be used strategically when no one knows what happens or who has it, and hopefully pull the little joker. So I'm not talking chess strategy, because if I talk chess strategies, most people is going to go over their head. But about 67, I used to think it was 99, but about 67% of people of color can actually play spades. So you understand my analogy. So, Mr. Biden, stop talking so damn tough. Stop broadcasting your hand and your strategy. Stop saying, yeah, I got the big joke. That's talking across the table. Now you got these knuckleheads, the Trump disciples, who will do anything to see you fail, even block legislation that puts sanctions against Russia, trade with Russia. One in particular, and I'm not going to call his name, is a GOP or Trump disciple senator who's blocking passage of a House bill. So if you're in the Senate, why are you trying to interfere with the business of the House of Representatives? Stay in your lane, dude. So he's trying to block the passage of a bill in the House because he knows if it gets to the Senate, there's a 90% chance that it's going to pass. My question to Congress, if we impose sanctions on the country, why are we the number one product consuming country on the planet? Why are we still purchasing said products from the country we just imposed sanctions? I suppose, given the fact that some people that wear these congressional pins have some economics, and I'm going to take this one from Jada Pinkett Smith. They have some economic entanglements that makes it hard for them to serve one God. So they wishy-washy, going back and forth. My question to Mr. Biden and Congress, why is the Dem Party not sanctioning Manchin, and you're not talking as tough to Manchin as you are when it goes to talking tough about NATO and this all other stuff? So if you sanction, if you cut away all the money, cut off all of the Democratic aid to Joe Manchin and Christian Sinema and anybody else who has the audacity to go against your vision for Build Back Better, maybe we could get something done. So my question to Mr. Biden and the Congress is, why do you sit idly by and not sanction those people who undermine the President of the United States and his vision for rebuilding the infrastructure? Then I hear CNN and MSNBC talk about how long can the Ukrainian people put up with the economic conditions that they've been subjected to. And again, this goes from my spiritual conflict to my economic conflict. How long do you feel that we can bear the brunt of a $13.6 billion aid package to one country and then a $300 billion package to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else when we're not getting it ourselves. When food is astronomical, it's $5 for a pound of freaking ground meat. It's almost, though gas has dropped a couple pennies, gas should be no more than $1.50. Since 2018, the United States of America has been the top producing country for not only crude gas as well. So why are we paying so much? When I see the only person that's being showed or being highlighted or being featured by the media in all of this coverage of the Ukrainian refugees, the only person that I saw, and if you saw someone else, pull my coattail, the only person that I saw that is being featured that has any melanin in their skin was tonight on CNN. There was an African aerobics dance teacher being featured because as a stress relief, he was in one of these refugee centers giving dance lessons to these women and their children. Now, he escaped all of this going on in Cameroon. But remember, when there is any type of war going on the continent of Africa, it doesn't get this kind of press. Now, granted, Africa is not one of these nations that has a nuclear arsenal, but it's rich. It's rich in raw materials like diamonds and gold and so forth and so on. So they're only good for giving us what we need. And we don't see all of the other stuff. But I'm going to continue to say it. Moving on. How do I find enough compassion for the people of Ukraine when my hometown, New Orleans, just got hit by a tornado? And we hope that there's enough money in a FEMA budget to repair the parts of the city that was decimated. How can I find the compassion for the people in Ukraine when I don't see anyone like me being shown any compassion in media coverage? How can I find compassion for the people of Ukraine or anyone for that matter when people that look like me are still being murdered and slaughtered by the police? Moving on. Judge Ketanji Brown-Jackson. In the midst of all of this craziness, we've got a situation where a qualified Black person, female, male, who has progressive views, inclusive views, that person is being landblasted and utterly disrespected. Why? Probably because it's just what's happening now. Trump put 3 people on the Supreme Court. I just talked about the Supreme Court of the United States not even upholding our right to fair elections in battle key states. So we don't know what's going to happen moving forward. So this woman, with all of her qualifications, has to put up with Lindsey Graham and whatever was going on with him. And it seems like some people are taking a direct, and I could be off kilt here, but suddenly, on one hand, McConnell said he had a problem with Judge Brown-Jackson stacking. Now, who stacked more judge posts than McConnell himself? Then this idiot from South Carolina, I don't know what happened to him when McCain died, but old Lindsey, I'm not going to make the obvious joke about Lindsey, but Lindsey had the audacity to ask this woman about her blackness, about her religion, about this, that, and the other. And then he tried to flip it and say, this is because of how they treated Amy. Well, let's be honest. Amy Coney Barrett, who they appointed and pushed on to the Supreme Court, while there was less than a few months, 5 months left during the Trump administration, in contrast to them leaving a post open on the U.S. Supreme Court for over a year, it was McConnell who got all of his ducks in a row and all his people on board to make this happen. So I'm pissed because I don't see this type of leadership within the Democratic Party. I don't see Pelosi, I don't see Schumer going out and saying this is going to happen if we don't come together. So as we head into these 2022 elections, we need to be concerned about that, folks. In addition to that, while the whole world is watching the Ukraine, North Korea today tested a ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. That's one of them super duper missiles that can touch anywhere on the globe, including the United States, which means while the rest of the world is being caught up on what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, North Korea and Kim Jong-un decides to take this aggressive stand and do the most aggressive testing of these missiles in 5 years. The last time he did it, I think he and Trump was having a bromance. So my question, my message to Mr. Biden, my message to Ms. Pelosi, Schumer, my message to Mr. McConnell and Mr. McCarthy, my message to the Dems, the Republicans, the Trump-publicans, my message to the progressives, the moderates, and the conservatives. I know that the safety of the West hinges on stopping Putin's assault in an attempt to reassemble the now defunct USS small r. But this message is specifically addressed to Mr. Biden, to Ms. Pelosi, to Mr. Schumer, to AOC, to Amy, what's her name? Kobush, I can't remember her name. To all of these people that's been trying to make a name for themselves. Put your ideological differences on hold. Let's focus on passing a voting rights bill that's going to ensure that all of us have the opportunity to vote. Let's ensure that our vote counts. Let's ensure that our vote will be counted and valid. Simply put, we need you to multitask. I need you again to put aside your ideological differences. I'm not asking you to run with scissors. I'm merely asking you to walk. That's all I got for you tonight. Do me a favor, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. If you've already subscribed, share my podcast with a friend. If you missed tonight's podcast, if you came in late, because I know some of you here, there's I only need you to walk and chew freaking bubble gum. Remember what I always say, folks. Don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. I will see you next week right here, same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. My name is Hank Batiste. This is Omit the Logic. This shit makes no sense, but somehow we're going to make sense of it each and every week. And as always, important, I wish you love, I wish you peace, and let's all put one together. And for you, man, hair grease. I'm out of here. Thank you for tuning in.